Jinho Park looked at the numbers on his screen and smiled. The harvest this year was the best New Busan had ever seen. The cornfields stretched for hundreds of miles across the green plains. The rice paddies reflected the morning sun like mirrors. 2.5 million people called this world home, and they were all eating well. He walked to the window of his office in the main city. Children played in the streets below. Vendors sold fresh fruit from their carts. Old men sat on benches, playing board games. This was what humanity had traveled to the stars to build, peaceful worlds where families could grow and be happy. Jinho had been the colony administrator for 8 years. He watched New Busan grow from a small settlement to a thriving world. His own daughter was studying medicine on Earth, but she would return next year. She wanted to help the people here just like her father did. The communication device on his desk beeped. Jinho pressed the button to answer. "Sir, this is the defense station," said a young voice. It was operator Kyumin Lee. "We have ships coming, out of hyperspace. 20 vessels. They're big." Jinho frowned. No ships were scheduled to arrive today. "Are they human ships?" "No, sir. They're different. The computer doesn't recognize the design." Jinho felt his stomach drop. New Busan was far from human space. Very few alien species came this way. "Put me through to Captain Kim." Mira Kim's voice came through the speaker. She was the captain of the Aegis, the only military ship protecting New Busan. "Administrator Park, I see them. 20 warships, each one bigger than my frigate. They're not answering our communication signals." "What species are they?" Jinho asked. "Running scans now," Mira said. "Computer says they're Vorthak. I've heard of them. They're not friendly to humans. The Vorthak were a warrior species. They controlled a large empire on the other side of the galaxy. Jinho had read reports about them, but they had never come to human space before. "Try to talk to them," Jinho said. "Maybe they just want to trade." Minutes passed. Jinho watched. The sky through his window. He could see small dots moving among the stars. The alien ships were getting closer. Mira's voice returned, tight with worry. "They won't answer. They're moving into attack formation. I'm reading weapons powering up." "Attack formation?" Jinho couldn't believe it. "But we haven't done anything to them. This is a farming world." "Sir, I need to evacuate the planet," Mira said. "My ship can't fight 20 of them. We need to get people to the transport ships." Jinho was already moving. He ran from his office to the emergency control room. His hands shook as he activated the planet-wide alarm system. Sirens began wailing across the cities and towns. "This is Administrator Park," he said into the microphone. "All citizens must go to the nearest evacuation center immediately. This is not a drill. Alien warships are approaching. Go to the evacuation centers now." Dr. Yuna Lee was in the main hospital when the alarm started. She looked out the window and saw people running in the streets. Parents carried their children. Old people moved as fast as they could. "All medical staff, prepare for emergency evacuation," she announced over the hospital speakers. "Move all patients who can be moved to the underground shelters. Start with the children's ward." The hospital had 300 patients. Some were too sick to move. Yuna made the hardest decision of her life. Save who you can. In the defense station. Mira Kim watched the alien ships spread out around the planet. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Black metal hulls with purple lights. Weapons that looked like they could crack a moon in half. "This is Captain Kim of the human vessel Aegis," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You are approaching a peaceful colony. We have no military targets here. Please state your intentions." A voice answered. It was deep and harsh, speaking human, language with a strange accent. "Humans," the voice said. "Your species is weak. Your expansion ends here. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who dare to claim worlds in our region of space." "But this isn't your space," Mira said. "We checked all the star maps. No one claimed this system. The alien laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. All space belongs to the strong. You humans think you can spread across the galaxy like insects. Today we exterminate the nest. Mira knew there was no hope. Her frigate had good shields and decent weapons, but it was built to fight pirates and smugglers. These were military dreadnoughts from a species that had conquered dozens of worlds. All civilians, this is Captain Kim, she broadcast to the planet. Get underground now, deep as you can go. This is going to be bad. Engineer Taewon Choi was in the main communications center when the first energy beams hit the planet. The ground shook like an earthquake. Lights flickered. Computer screens went dark and came back up. They're hitting the cities, someone shouted. Multiple strikes across the northern continent. Taewon looked at his screens. The communication. Satellites were being destroyed one by one. Soon they would be cut off from the rest of human space. No one would know what happened here. He started recording a message on the emergency beacon. This beacon was hidden deep underground. Even if everything else was destroyed, it would keep broadcasting. This is New Busan Colony, Engineer Taewon. Choi recording. We are under attack by Vorthak warships, 20 vessels. They came without warning. No demands, no negotiations. They said we were insects to be exterminated. The building shook again. Through the window, he could see fires burning in the distance. Captain Mira Kim fired everything her ship had. Plasma cannons, missile pods, laser arrays. Her weapons hit the nearest Vorthak ship and did almost nothing. The alien vessel's shields absorbed the attack like it was rainfall. Return fire incoming, her weapons officer shouted. The Vorthak ship fired once. A purple beam cut through space and hit the Aegis. Mira's ship broke apart like a toy. She and her crew of 50 died instantly. On the planet below, the real destruction began. The Vorthak ships moved into low orbit. Their weapons could destroy entire city blocks with single shots. They targeted hospitals first, then schools, then the evacuation centers where people were hiding. Jinho Park was in the underground command bunker when the ceiling came down. The last thing he saw was a picture of his daughter on his desk. Dr. Yuna Lee died trying to protect the children in the hospital basement. She threw herself over a little boy when the blast wave came through. Taewon. Choi kept recording until the very end. They're killing everyone, men, women, children. This isn't war. This is murder. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them the Vorthak think humans are insects. Tell them to remember New Busan. Tell them to remember us. The transmission ended when the communication center melted. The Vorthak ship spent 6 hours making sure nothing survived. They hunted down every shelter, every cave, every hiding place. When they were done, New Busan was a dead rock covered in radioactive ash. The alien fleet left as suddenly as they had arrived. Behind them, 2.3 million human lives were gone. Not a single person survived to tell the story. But the hidden beacon, deep underground, kept broadcasting Taewon Choi's final message into space. Admiral Hyunwoo Nam stood in the Situation Room deep under the mountains of Earth. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps, fleet positions, and communication logs. For 30 years, he had protected humanity from pirates, smugglers, and the occasional hostile alien encounter. He had never seen anything like this. The recording played again. Engineer Taewon Choi's voice filled the room with desperation and fear. They came without warning. No demands, no negotiations. They said we were insects to be exterminated. The transmission had taken 3 weeks to reach Earth through the automatic relay stations. By the time they received it, New Busan had been dead for almost a month. How many people? Admiral Nam asked quietly. 2.3 million, replied Commander Jinwoo Song, his intelligence officer. Farmers, teachers, children, doctors. The youngest victim was 3 months old. The oldest was 96. Admiral Nam closed his eyes. He had a granddaughter that age. President Ji-won Seo arrived with her security team. She was a small woman with gray hair, but when she spoke, everyone listened. She had led humanity through economic crisis and natural disasters. Now she faced something much worse. "What do we know about these Vorthak?" she asked. Commander Song activated the main display. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, with different colored regions showing various alien empires. The Vorthak Empire controls approximately 400 star systems, he explained. Population estimated at 50 billion. They're a military species. Every adult male serves in their armed forces. They've conquered 12 other species over the past 2 centuries. "Why attack us?" President Seo asked. New Busan wasn't threatening anyone. Ambassador Kyung Yang stepped forward. He was humanity's chief diplomat, responsible for relations with alien governments. His face looked tired and old. "I've been trying to establish formal contact with the Vorthak for 2 years," he said. "They refused every attempt at communication. Their message was always the same. Humans are a primitive species that should stay in their own small corner of space." Primitive? Admiral Nam felt anger building in his chest. "We have faster-than-light travel. We've colonized 60 worlds. Our technology rivals any species in the galaxy. To them, we're insects," Ambassador Yang said sadly. "They see our expansion as a threat to their dominance. New Busan was a message. Stop growing or die." President Seo looked at the star map. Human colonies were marked in blue, a small cluster compared to the vast red area of Vorthak space. "What are our military options?" she asked. Fleet Admiral Sunho Kang stood up. He was in charge of all human military forces. His uniform was covered with medals from a dozen campaigns against pirates and smugglers. "We can mobilize the entire Terran Defense Force," he said. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. That gives us approximately 50,000 combat vessels. And the Vorthak? Intelligence estimates they have over 1 million warships. Each one is larger and more heavily armed than our best ships." The room fell silent. The numbers were impossible. Humanity couldn't win a direct war against the Vorthak Empire. "They're going to kill us all," whispered Dr. Soman Park, the president's science advisor. "They'll come to Earth next, to all our worlds." President Seo turned to Admiral Nam. "Is there any hope? Any chance at all?" Admiral Nam looked at the faces around him. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity. They deserved the truth. "In a conventional war, we would lose," he said, "but there might be another way." He pressed a button on his control panel. New sections of the star map lit up, areas that had been dark before. Strange symbols appeared in empty regions of space, far from any star system. "What am I looking at?" President Seo asked. Dr. Yoonji Han stepped out of the shadows. She was the director of the Deep Space Research Institute, one of humanity's most classified organizations. Most people didn't even know she existed. "Madam President," she said, "what you're seeing is Project Erebus. It began 200 years ago, shortly after we made first contact with hostile aliens." The room was completely quiet now. Even Admiral Nam leaned forward to listen. "Our ancestors realized that humanity would face this situation eventually," Dr. Han continued. "A species much stronger than us would try to destroy us. So they started building insurance." "What kind of insurance?" President Seo asked. Dr. Han pressed another button. The display zoomed in on one of the strange symbols. It showed a massive construction, larger than most space stations, hidden in the darkness between stars. "Automated shipyards," she said, "completely hidden from all alien detection methods. For 2 centuries, they've been consuming asteroids, comets, and space debris, building ships, waiting." Admiral Nam felt his heart racing. "How many ships?" "The Dark Fleet numbers exactly 700,000 vessels," Dr. Han said calmly. "Each one is designed to be superior to anything currently in space. They don't need life support systems or comfort facilities. They exist for one purpose only: the complete destruction of humanity's enemies. President Seo stared at the display. 700,000 ships. Why wasn't I told about this? Because the moment we revealed their existence, every alien species would unite to destroy us, Dr. Han explained. The Dark Fleet was humanity's final secret. It was only to be activated if our species faced extinction. Ambassador Yang spoke up. The Vorthak have made their intentions clear. They see us as insects to be exterminated. If we don't act, they'll attack another colony, then another. They won't stop until every human is dead. President Seo walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of the city. Millions of people living their lives unaware that their entire species was in danger. If we use this Dark Fleet, she said, what happens to the Vorthak? Dr. Han's voice was steady. Complete annihilation. Every ship, every world, every trace of their civilization. The Dark Fleet doesn't take prisoners. It doesn't negotiate. It removes threats to humanity. All of them, their entire species. Yes, Madam President, all of them. The room was silent for a long time. President Seo thought about the children playing in the streets of New Busan. She thought about Taewan Choi's final message. She thought about the 3-month-old baby who had died in the attack. They could have chosen diplomacy, she said finally. They could have chosen peace. Instead, they chose to murder our children. She turned back to the group. Admiral Nam, activate the Dark Fleet. Dr. Han, wake up every shipyard. I want those 700,000 ships ready for combat. Admiral? Nam nodded. What are our rules of engagement? President Seo's voice was cold as winter. Find every Vorthak world. Find every Vorthak ship. Find every Vorthak military base. Leave nothing alive. Madam President, Ambassador Yang said carefully, this will change how every species in the galaxy sees us. They'll fear us. Good, President Seo replied. Let them fear us. Let them know that murdering human children has consequences. Let them know that humanity remembers. She walked to the communication console. Open a channel to all human colonies, all human ships, all human outposts. Channel open, Madam President. Citizens of humanity, she began. 3 weeks ago, the Vorthak Empire attacked our colony at New Busan. They murdered 2.3 million innocent people. Farmers, teachers, children playing in the streets. They did this because they see us as insects. They did this to send a message. Her voice grew stronger. Today, we send them a message in return. Today, humanity shows the galaxy what happens when you slaughter our children. Today, the stars themselves will darken with human warships. She closed the channel and turned to Admiral Nam. How long until the Dark Fleet is ready? 72 hours, he replied. Then in 3 days, the Vorthak Empire dies. Outside, the automated shipyards in the darkness between stars began to stir. Machines that had waited 2 centuries finally received their activation codes. The Dark Fleet was awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same. Deep in the void between star systems, where no light from any sun could reach, something ancient began to move. The automated shipyard designated NYX-7 had floated in darkness for 180 years. It was the size of a small moon, built from materials harvested from dead asteroids and forgotten comets. Chief Engineer Do-Hyun Lim sat in the control center, watching systems come online that had been dormant for nearly 2 centuries. His hands moved across controls that few humans had ever seen. Around him, machines hummed with power as they received the activation signal from Earth. Status report, he called out to his small crew. Fusion reactors at full power, replied Engineer Minji. Cool. Manufacturing systems responding. Material reserves at 96% capacity. Excellent. Do-Hyun looked at the main display. It showed the interior of the massive shipyard, kilometers of construction bays, each containing a completed warship. How many vessels are ready for immediate deployment? 873 ships in Yard Now X7, answered Technician Yukje Bey. All weapons loaded, all systems green. They've been waiting a long time for this day. Do-hyun smiled grimly. Across the galaxy, 99 other shipyards just like this one were awakening. Each contained between 800 and 1,000 completed warships. The Dark Fleet was humanity's greatest secret and greatest achievement. Commander Borum O stood on the bridge of her ship, the Midnight Hunter. Unlike normal human vessels, this ship was completely black. No lights showed on its hull. No windows. Revealed warm living spaces inside. It was a machine built for war, nothing more. All systems online, Commander, reported her tactical officer. The entire crew consisted of only 12 people. The ship's artificial intelligence handled most operations. Signal from command, announced the communications officer. We are authorized to begin deployment. Borum nodded. She had trained for this moment her entire adult life. Her parents had been part of the Dark Fleet project. Her grandparents had helped design the first automated shipyards. 3 generations of her family had prepared for the day when humanity would need to defend itself against extinction. Helm, take us out of the construction bay, she ordered. The Midnight Hunter moved slowly out of its berth. Around it, hundreds of other ships did the same. They moved in perfect silence through the vacuum of space. No radio chatter, no unnecessary communication. These ships had been built for stealth and death. Captain Wanbin Jang commanded the flagship Retribution. His ship was twice the size of any Vorthak dreadnought and armed with weapons that pushed the limits of known physics. The plasma cannons could melt through 3 meters of armor plating. The missile pods carried warheads that could crack a planet's crust. Captain, said his weapons officer, we're receiving deployment orders from Admiral Nam. Put it on the main screen, Wanbin replied. Admiral Nam's face appeared on the display. Even through the communication link, Wanbin could see the fury in the Admiral's eyes. Dark Fleet commanders, Admiral Nam began. You know why we're here. The Vorthak Empire has committed genocide against the people of New Busan. They murdered 2.3 million innocent civilians because they see humanity as insects to be exterminated. The Admiral paused, letting his words sink in. Your orders are simple. Proceed to Vorthak space. Destroy every military installation. Destroy every ship. Destroy every world. Leave no trace of their civilization. Make them extinct. Wanbin felt a cold satisfaction. His sister had lived on New Busan. She had been a teacher at the elementary school. The Vorthak had killed her along with all her students. Sir, called out his navigation officer, we have our target coordinates. The Vorthak homeworld of Morthak. Set. Course, Wanbin ordered. Maximum hyperspace speed. Across the dark reaches of space, 700,000 human warships began moving toward their targets. They traveled in small groups to avoid detection. Each group had specific orders. Destroy this world, eliminate that fleet, remove this military base from existence. The ships themselves were marvels of technology that humanity had spent 2 centuries perfecting. Their hulls were made from materials that absorbed sensor scans. Their weapons could fire through hyperspace. Their artificial intelligences could think faster than any biological brain. Dr. Yoonji Han watched the deployment from the secret command station hidden in the asteroid belt around Seoul. Her life's work was finally being put to use. She felt proud and terrified at the same time. Status report on all Dark Fleet units, she called out. All ships have cleared their construction yards, reported her assistant. Hyperspace jumps are proceeding on schedule. First contact with Vorthak forces, estimated in 60 hours. Dr. Han nodded. The Vorthak had started this war by murdering civilians. They would end it by becoming extinct. On Earth, President Ji-won Seo met with representatives from other alien species who had heard rumors about unusual human military activity. The Zelhari Republic had sent Ambassador Velnash, a tall creature, with blue skin and 4 arms. President CO, Ambassador Velnash said in perfect human language, "Our deep space sensors have detected massive gravitational anomalies, ships moving through hyperspace in unprecedented numbers. Is humanity planning some kind of military action?" President CO smiled politely. "Ambassador, I'm sure your sensors are mistaken. Humanity is a peaceful species. We prefer farming to fighting." Ambassador Velnash looked confused. "But the readings are very clear. Hundreds of thousands of vessels." "I'm sorry," President Seo interrupted, "but I really don't know what you're talking about." After the ambassador left, President Seo turned to Admiral Nam. "How long before other species realize what's happening?" "By the time they figure it out, it will be too late," Admiral Nam replied. "The Dark Fleet will complete its mission in less than a week." Meanwhile, on the Vorthak homeworld of Morthak, War Master Grethnal reviewed reports from the New Busan attack. He felt satisfied with the results. The humans had learned their place in the galaxy. "Sir," said his intelligence officer, "we're receiving reports of unusual activity in human space. Ships moving in large numbers." Grethnal laughed. "Let them move their little ships around. Humans are cowards. They won't dare attack us." "But, sir, our long-range scouts report—" "Enough!" Grethnal snapped. "Humans are insects. Insects don't threaten the Vorthak Empire." He would realize his mistake in less than 2 days. Captain Wanbin Jang stood on the bridge of the Retribution as his ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Morthak system. Around him, 999 other Dark Fleet. Vessels appeared like ghosts materializing from nothing. "Contact," announced his sensor officer. "Vorthak defense platforms around the home planet, approximately 50 installations, each one armed with heavy weapons." "How many ships in the system?" Wanbin asked. "Scanning. 200 Vorthak warships. Various sizes. They're moving to intercept us." Wanbin smiled. The Vorthak thought they were facing a normal human fleet. They had no idea what the Dark Fleet really was. "Open a channel to the Vorthak homeworld," he ordered. War Master Grethnal's face appeared on the screen. The alien looked confused and angry. "Humans," he snarled, "you dare to bring your pathetic ships to our homeworld? We will destroy you just as we destroyed your colony." "War Master Grethnal," Wanbin said calmly, "I am Captain Wanbin Jang of the human vessel Retribution. You killed my sister on New Busan. You killed 2.3 million innocent people. Today, your species pays the price." Grethnal laughed. "Your species?" "Human, we have 200 warships defending this system. You have brought less than 1,000. You will die here." "You're right about one thing," Wanbin replied. "Someone will die here today, but it won't be us." He cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. "Signal to all Dark Fleet units. Begin the attack. Show them what happens when you murder human children." The Battle of Morthak was about to begin, and the Vorthak Empire was about to learn why humanity had survived. To reach the stars, the Vorthak Defense Fleet moved forward with confidence. War Master Grethnal commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. In 200 years of conquest, his species had never lost a major battle. These humans would be no different. "All ships, attack formation," he ordered. "Show these insects the power of the Vorthak Empire." The human ships waited in perfect formation. They made no aggressive moves. They didn't spread out or try to maneuver for advantage. They simply sat there like statues in space. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the human ships aren't moving, they're just floating there." "Cowards," Grethnal sneered. "They're paralyzed with fear. Open fire, destroy them all." 200 Vorthak warships fired at once. Purple energy beams cut through space toward the Dark Fleet. The War Master smiled, expecting to see human ships exploding in brilliant flashes of light. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beams hit the human ships, and simply vanished. The black hulls absorbed the weapon's fire like it was nothing more than sunlight. Not a single human vessel took damage. What? Grethnall stared at his display screen. How is that possible? Captain Wanbin Jiang stood calmly on the bridge of the Retribution. Around him, his crew watched their instruments with professional detachment. Damage. Report, he said. No damage to any Dark Fleet vessel, replied his tactical officer. Enemy weapons are ineffective against our hull materials. Excellent. Return fire. Target their command ship first. The Retribution fired a single plasma bolt. The projectile moved faster than anything the Vorthak had ever seen. It struck the Eternal Dominion's shields and passed through them like they weren't there. The massive Vorthak dreadnought split in half and exploded. War Master Grethnall died without understanding what had killed him. By the void, whispered his second-in-command on another ship. The humans just destroyed the Eternal Dominion with one shot. The rest of the Dark Fleet opened fire. 1,000 human ships unleashed weapons that bent the laws of physics. Plasma bolts that could burn through any armor. Particle beams that disrupted matter at the molecular level. Gravitational missiles that created tiny black holes. The Vorthak. Defense fleet lasted exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Commander Seo Young Cho led a squadron of automated bomber ships toward the orbital defense platforms around Morthak. These installations had protected the Vorthak homeworld for 3 centuries. Each one was the size of a city and armed with enough weapons to destroy entire fleets. Beginning bombing run, she announced over the communication channel. Her ships moved in perfect formation, dodging defensive fire with impossible precision. The Vorthak gunners couldn't understand how human ships could move so fast and change direction so quickly. The bombers released their payloads. These weren't normal explosives. They were reality distortion weapons that unraveled the atomic bonds holding matter together. The defense platforms simply ceased to exist, converted into clouds of their component particles. Within 20 minutes, every orbital defense around Morthak was gone. Admiral Hierin Bay commanded the planetary assault force. Her ships moved into low orbit around the Vorthak homeworld. From space, she could see the great cities where billions of Vorthak lived. She thought about the children of New Busan and felt no mercy. Begin surface bombardment, she ordered. Target all military installations first, then government buildings, then industrial centers. The Dark Fleet's orbital weapons were designed for complete destruction. Each shot could level a city block. The targeting computers identified every Vorthak military base, every government office, every weapons factory. On the surface of Morthak, panic spread through the population. The Vorthak had never experienced an attack on their homeworld. They had always been the conquerors, never the conquered. Military Commander Yeth Gol watched from his bunker as human ships destroyed everything his people had built. How? He asked his aide. How do humans have such powerful weapons? Our intelligence said they were primitive. Sir, his aide replied, perhaps our intelligence was wrong. The bombardment continued for 6 hours. When it was finished, every trace of Vorthak military power on their homeworld was gone. Every government building was rubble. Every weapons factory was ash. Captain Ji-seok Kim recorded the destruction in his ship's log. Day 1 of Operation Retribution. The Vorthak homeworld has been neutralized. All military assets destroyed. Civilian casualties, approximately 2 billion. He paused his recording. 2 billion was a large number, but the Vorthak had killed 2.3 million innocent humans. They had started this war by targeting civilians. Now they would face the consequences. Proceeding to secondary targets, he continued. The Vorthak Empire has 38 major worlds. We will visit each one. Across Vorthak space, similar scenes played out on world after world. The Dark Fleet had divided into smaller task forces, each targeting specific planets. They moved with mechanical efficiency, destroying everything that represented Vorthak military or governmental power. On the industrial world of Kethmore, Admiral Sunho Kang's task force eliminated 3 massive shipyards that had built Vorthak, warships for decades. The Vorthak workers tried to evacuate, but the human weapons moved too fast. Within hours, the entire planet's industrial capacity was gone. Commander Taehyung Im led the assault on the military academy world of Velgast. This was where young Vorthak learned to be warriors. It was where they learned that other species were inferior and should be conquered or destroyed. "Target the academy buildings," he ordered. "Make sure they understand. There will be no more Vorthak warriors." The academy had trained soldiers for 400 years. Its libraries contained the military history of the Vorthak Empire. Its monuments celebrated centuries of conquest. All of it disappeared under human weapons fire. The news of the attack spread throughout Vorthak space faster than the Dark Fleet could travel. Panic gripped the Empire as world after world went silent. Military commanders who had never known defeat suddenly faced an enemy they couldn't understand or fight. General Korthval commanded the Vorthak Third Fleet, 150 warships stationed near the border worlds. He received an emergency communication from the High Command. "General," said the transmission, "human forces are attacking our worlds. Unknown number of vessels. Weapons beyond our understanding. Morthak has fallen. Kethmor has fallen. Velgast has fallen. You must stop them." Korthval looked at his fleet. 150 ships against an unknown number of human vessels with superior technology. It was suicide, but he was a Vorthak warrior. He would fight. His fleet intercepted a Dark Fleet task force near the mining world of Zefgul. Captain Min-jae Park commanded the human force. Only 20 ships. "General Korthval," Captain Park said over the communication channel, "surrender. Now, and your crews will be allowed to evacuate to life pods before we destroy your ships." Korthval laughed. 20 human ships against 150 Vorthak warships? You are either insane or incredibly brave. "We're neither," Captain Park replied. "We're just better than you." The battle lasted 8 minutes. When it was over, the Vorthak Third Fleet no longer existed. General Korthval died when his flagship was cut in half by a human particle beam. Captain Park's ships continued toward Zefgul without slowing down. On Earth, President Jiwon Seo received regular updates from the Dark Fleet. The reports were brief and efficient. World after world fell to human forces. The mighty Vorthak Empire was being systematically destroyed. "Madam President," said Admiral Nam, "we're receiving communication requests from 17 different alien governments. They want to know what's happening." "Tell them we're having technical difficulties with our communication systems, President," Seo replied. "We can't talk right now." She walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 700,000 human warships were teaching the galaxy a lesson about the consequences of genocide. "How long until it's finished?" she asked. "At current pace, approximately 72 hours, Admiral Nam replied. "The Vorthak Empire will cease to exist by the end of the week." President Seo nodded. The children of New Busan would be avenged. Humanity would never again be seen as weak or primitive. The galaxy would learn to respect human life, or face the same fate as the Vorthak. The Dark Fleet continued its work, moving from world to world like a plague of mechanical death. The Vorthak had wanted to exterminate humanity like insects. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. 3 months after the destruction of New Busan, the last Vorthak world fell silent. Captain Wanbin Jiang stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching as his ships finished their work on the planet Zarthek. It had been a beautiful world once, covered with purple forests and silver cities. Now it was just another dead rock orbiting a distant star. "All targets eliminated," reported his tactical officer. "No Vorthak life signs detected anywhere on the planet." Wanbin nodded. Zarthek had been the last holdout, a remote colony world that the Dark Fleet had saved for the end. With its destruction, the Vorthak Empire was extinct. 400 worlds, 50 billion people, 1,000 years of history, all gone. Signal to all Dark Fleet units, he announced. Mission complete. Return to staging areas. Across the galaxy, 700,000 human warships began their journey back to the hidden bases between the stars. They moved silently through hyperspace, leaving behind the ashes of an entire civilization. On Earth, President Jiwon Seo sat in her office reading the final reports. The numbers were staggering. In just 3 months, humanity had fought and won the largest war in galactic history. Not a single human ship had been lost. Not a single human soldier had died. The Vorthak, on the other hand, no longer existed. "Madam President," said her aide, "the Galactic Council has requested an emergency session. They want to discuss the situation." President Seo smiled. The Galactic Council was a loose alliance of alien species that tried to maintain peace between different civilizations. Until now, humanity had been too small and weak to be invited to their meetings. "Tell them I'll be happy to attend," she said. The Galactic Council met on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. President Seo arrived in a simple diplomatic shuttle, accompanied only by Admiral Nam and Ambassador Yang. She wanted to make a point about human confidence. The council chamber was enormous, designed to hold representatives from dozens of different species. As President Seo entered, she could feel all eyes turning toward her. The aliens looked at her with mixtures of fear, respect, and confusion. Ambassador Nari Huang, humanity's new representative to the Galactic Council, introduced President Seo to the assembly. The president walked to the central speaking platform, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, "I am President Jiwon Seo of the Human Colonial Federation. I understand you have questions about recent events." High Chancellor Velmoth of the Zelhari Republic stood up. His blue skin had turned pale with worry. "President Seo, 3 months ago the Vorthak Empire controlled 400 star systems. Today, our sensors show no life on any of those worlds. What happened to them?" President Seo's voice was calm and steady. "The Vorthak Empire attacked one of our agricultural colonies. They murdered 2.3 million innocent civilians, farmers, teachers, children playing in gardens under an alien sun. They did this because they saw humanity as an inferior species that needed to be exterminated." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We disagreed with their assessment." Councillor Prethgak of the Keth-Moran Confederacy spoke next. His tentacles writhed with nervous energy. "But President Seo, they killed millions. You killed billions. Entire worlds full of civilians." "The Vorthak started a war of extermination," President Seo replied. "We finished it. They wanted to wipe out humanity because they saw us as insects. We removed their ability to threaten anyone ever again. By committing genocide," accused Chancellor Yemdai of the Rigel Consortium. President Seo turned to face the alien leader. "Chancellor, how many human colonies did your species defend when the Vorthak attacked New Busan?" The Chancellor's mandibles clicked nervously. "Well, the Rigel Consortium has a policy of non-interference." "How many human children did you try to save?" "We cannot involve ourselves in conflicts between other species." "I see." President Seo looked around the chamber. "And how many of you sent aid to New Busan? How many of you condemned the Vorthak attack? How many of you even acknowledged that 2.3 million innocent people had died?" The chamber was silent. "None of you," President Seo continued. "You stood by and watched as an entire human world was murdered. You did nothing because we were weak and the Vorthak were strong. You thought the strong could do whatever they wanted to the weak." She walked to the center of the chamber, her voice growing stronger. "Today, you learn a new lesson. Strength is not measured by how many ships you have or how many worlds you control. Strength is measured by what you're willing to do to protect what matters to you. Admiral Nam stepped forward and activated a holographic display. It showed the current military balance in the galaxy. Where the Red Vorthak territory used to be, there was now empty space. The human military consists of approximately 50,000 conventional warships, Admiral Nam explained. These ships patrol our territory and protect our trade routes. They are visible to your sensors and participate in normal diplomatic activities. He pressed another button. New symbols appeared on the display, hundreds of thousands of them scattered throughout the galaxy. The Dark Fleet consists of 700,000 automated warships. They exist in the spaces between stars, invisible to conventional sensors. They have one purpose: to respond when humanity faces extinction. The alien representatives stared at the display in shocked silence. "Where we come from," President Seo said, "there is an old saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. We prefer peace, trade, and diplomacy. But if you threaten our children, if you try to exterminate our species, you will discover that humanity carries a very big stick indeed." High Chancellor Velmoth found his voice. "President Seo, surely we can establish formal diplomatic relations. The Zelhari Republic would be honored to sign a mutual defense treaty with humanity. The Kethmaran Confederacy offers immediate trade agreements," added Councillor Prethgak. "The Rigel Consortium proposes a cultural exchange program," said Chancellor Yemdai quickly. President Seo smiled. 3 months ago, these same species had ignored humanity's requests for diplomatic contact. Now they competed to offer friendship. "Humanity is interested in peaceful relations with all species," she said. "But understand this. We have a new doctrine regarding attacks on human civilians. Any species that commits genocide against humanity will face complete extinction. No exceptions, no negotiations, no mercy." She looked around the chamber one more time. The Vorthak thought they were teaching us our place in the galaxy. Instead, they taught the galaxy humanity's place. "We are not the strongest species. We are not the largest empire, but we are the species that will destroy anyone who tries to murder our children." 6 months later, Ambassador Nari Huang sat in her new office on the Galactic Council station. Through her window, she could see ships from dozens of species coming and going. Trade was booming. Diplomatic relations were stronger than ever. Peace seemed to reign throughout the galaxy. But she knew the truth. In the darkness between stars, 700,000 human warships continued their silent patrol. Most had returned to their hidden bases, but some remained active, watching and waiting. Any species that detected them would see only empty space. The Dark Fleet had perfected the art of invisibility, but they were there, ready to emerge if humanity ever faced extinction again. On the memorial world that had once been New Busan, Soyoung Park knelt beside a simple stone marker. She was Jinho Park's daughter, the girl who had been studying medicine on Earth when her world died. She had returned to place the final memorial stone in the garden that now covered the former colony site. The inscription read, "They are not forgotten. They are avenged. Humanity remembers." Around her, similar stones marked the resting places of 2.3 million people. Farmers, teachers, doctors, children. They had died because they were seen as insects. Their deaths had taught the galaxy that insects, when threatened, can have a very dangerous sting. Soyoung stood up and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the descendants of humanity were building new colonies, exploring new worlds, raising new children. They could do so safely now, protected by the knowledge that 700,000 guardian ships watched over them from the darkness. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was no longer seen as weak or primitive. They were seen as what they had always been, a species capable of infinite compassion and infinite cruelty. The choice of which they would receive lay entirely with those who encountered them. In the depths of space, the Dark Fleet waited patiently for the next species foolish enough to threaten human children. They had all the time in the universe to wait, and their weapons never grew old or tired. The stars themselves seemed dimmer now, shadowed by the knowledge that 700,000 human warships moved unseen through the darkness, ready to emerge when needed. Peace reigned in the galaxy, enforced by the promise of absolute destruction for those who broke it. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Guardians of their own people, and guardians of the lesson that genocide has consequences that echo across the void.